Like this is a development of basically there's some of it in the Gemara, in the Talmud, but then it became the dominant conception of medieval Jewish philosophers, commentators such as Rashi, that there are certain laws that we just can't understand. But prior to this was not the way we Jews thought about God's law. We didn't say, oh, we can't understand it. So if we just look at the Hebrew Bible, there's no reason that we can't understand it. So I think we can understand it. I think we can understand powerful rationales behind every law in the Torah. And I believe that we can understand powerful rationales behind the law of the red heifer. And by understanding God's laws, it adds much more profundity to our practice of God's laws. And for instance, I think the laws of kashrut, the dietary laws, are very profound, and that they have a moral effect on people, particularly if they understand some of the reasons behind it. And I don't buy this medieval Jewish division between laws that are rational, such as don't murder, don't steal, don't sleep with your father's wife, and laws that are supposedly not rational, such as the laws of the red heifer. Because there would be plenty of societies that thought killing and forms of adultery and all sorts of horrible things were okay. The only reason in the ultimate end that murder is wrong, that adultery is wrong, that incest is wrong, is because God said so. God is the ultimate source of morality. He decides what is right and wrong. And if it were not for God, all we would have are opinions about morality, right? You hold that this is wrong, I hold this is wrong, we differ, but we have no transcendent source to go to. But because we have a Torah, we do have a transcendent source to go to determine what is right and wrong. And so what do you think about any of what I just said? And feel free to just say it's totally wrong.
It's not my derech. It's not the philosophy, is one you say, that I follow.
Yeah.
Right. But if you have sources for it, then who am I to argue?
Great. So I'll let you keep rolling.
No, you go. I'm just Howard Cosell here. I'm just Howard Cosell. It's like.
Well,
Muhammad Ali.
Anyone who really wants to learn more about the law of the red heifer, of course, there are hundreds of great rabbinic commentaries. Just one that I would recommend is in the JTS commentary on the book of Bamidbar by Rabbi Jacob Milgram. He was the head of the Hebrew department at the University of California at Berkeley, and he's now at Hebrew University in Jerusalem. He is a conservative rabbi, and his elucidation of the law of the red heifer runs about 6 pages. It's fairly complex, but it basically boils down to the ritual of the purification using the ashes of the red heifer is detergent, that it takes away the impurity from the impure, and it makes the person who's conducting the ritual impure. So it makes the pure impure and the impure pure. Other than that, it's much more complicated than I can understand right now. But I'm going to return it back to Rabbi Rabs to let him continue with any of his thoughts on this week's Torah question.
Okay, so where do we want to pick up?
Anything. You grab something.
Okay, we spoke about that. You mentioned that there's a lot in this parsha, and that you even mentioned that that after this, I believe you said that Aaron Cohen was nifter in this part. That Aaron, the priest, he passed away. Also, Moshe's sister Miriam died.
Right.
And you mentioned that these are the kind of things that are in this parsha. So, there's a question in the Talmud, and it says, why is it in this order? Why do we first have the law of the red heifer, and then we see that these great people who we've gotten to know over the last few weeks or whatever in the different parshas, why did they start dying? Do you have an answer for that?
No.
Okay, so one answer that's brought down in the Talmud, it's in Moed Moed Katan 28a is that just as the red heifer creates an atonement, it's an atonement for impurity, so too when the righteous passed away, that's also an atonement for impurity. And that's sort of like the connection here. We're talking about different ways to atone for people's impurity. And in the red heifer, the reason why it's used, the ashes are for people who are, let's say, impure, like the worst kind of impurity, which is you touch a dead body, for instance. So the red heifer, it comes and it brings you out of that. It brings you out of that. What's the word I want? Out of that
impure state.
Out of that state, exactly. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, again, because my Hebrew is very poor, I'm constantly going to be referring to commentaries that I've read in English, which is definitely not the best way to be studying Torah. But I just love this commentary on the first half of Vayikra, Leviticus chapters 1 through 16, commentary, the Anchor Bible series by Rabbi Jacob Milgram. And Leviticus was a book that I never enjoyed and never understood, and never got excited about, till I studied the work of Rabbi Jacob Milgram. And even though this week's Parsha is not Leviticus, it's not in the book of Vayikra, I think that some of his commentaries here on Leviticus definitely applies to what we're talking about. And his first sentence in this section, the priestly theology, I think is very interesting. Theology is what Leviticus is all about, and this would also pertain for much of Exodus and for much of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers. Pervades every chapter and almost every verse. So you think, like, where's the theology in the ritual of the red heifer? Well, the theology in the Torah, much of the time, is not expressed in pronouncements, but it's embedded in rituals. Every act, whether movement, manipulation, or gesticulation, is pregnant with meaning. At their deepest level, rituals reveal values. So these seemingly arcane rituals that we're studying in this week's Parsha and frequently throughout the Torah that seem on the basis to make no sense, well, there is meaning behind them. In the world in which the Torah came out of, the world that the Israelites were developing into a nation, was a world of what we would now call pagan religion, and it had three main essentials to it. The deities, the gods, were themselves dependent on and influenced by a meta-divine realm. That this realm spawns a multitude of malevolent and benevolent entities, and that humans can tap into this realm if they can acquire the magical power to coerce the gods to do their will. And this is kind of the world that the Torah came to destroy. In ancient Mesopotamia, this world was dominated by fear of evil powers and black magic rather than a positive worship of the gods. The world was conceived to be full of evil demons who might cause trouble in any sphere of life. If they had attacked, the right ritual would effect the cure. Humans as well as devils might work evil against a person by the black arts. So I come from Australia, where the Aborigines have this ritual where they point a bone at someone and then the person invariably dies. So the priestly theology, the theology of the Torah, completely negates these premises. It says there's one supreme God. He doesn't contend with a meta-divine realm. He doesn't have competing gods. The world of the demons is abolished. There's no struggle with autonomous foes. There are none. Only one creature in the entire universe has demonic power, and that's the human being. Endowed with free will, his power is greater than that attributed to him by any pagan society. So monotheism raises the level of the human being. Not only can he defy God, but in Torah talk, he can drive God out of his sanctuary. How does he do this? By impurity, by immoral behavior. He can move God out of the congregation. So in this week's Torah portion, throughout much of the Torah, it's obsessed with keeping God present in our lives. And I'll throw it over to you, Rabbi. If you have either any reactions, or you can just carry on.
No, but I was looking at the chat room. I was going to. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Start
go
taking
ahead.
questions from them.
Yeah, go
they're
ahead.
asking questions, and I was
Yeah.
just looking at them. I don't even know if they're still in the room or not.
So was there a particular question that you want to deal with?
Well, it sounds like they're having questions